Welcome to Season 4 of the A New Narrative podcast. I'm Sam Zagar, your projector guide and host. I've been known as being source-based in my work with human design for years. This season, we're going to be exploring source, but you might be surprised at what source I'm actually talking about and how it's been guiding my work. I hope you'll join me as I interview guests or do some solo processing on my adventure back to the source. Okay, so you're going to hear me and Amanda have a conversation, and honestly, it's our first actual live conversation. We've been audio noting for a handful of months now because we have some similar questions and a similar direction. And this is the first time we're going to have a live chat, and I'm unprepared as I should be as an innocent splenic person, and I'm just going to fire away. I just want to know what I want to know, and I know she has answers to some of my questions.
I have potential answers. I have gate 4. I'll give you answers, whether they're accurate or not.
Oh, I love that. Okay, it's starting with honesty right off the bat. Okay, so we have some similarities to our design in that we're both splenic projectors, we're both innocent motivation, and we both have had some questions, particular along the lines of source in human design or origin of human design or traditional versus developing versus I have historically been known as being fairly dogmatic or fundamentalist, thanks to a couple other people in my industry, and thanks to myself, maybe perhaps there for a little while. But I'm kind of coming out of that. I don't know. I've come out of that in a lot of different directions. I'm even like, who's raw sometimes based on some of the source things I find. And honestly, some of the material that I find now from like the 70s and 80s that talks about the exact same concepts within human design, some of it rattles me a little bit. And yeah, I think Amanda's going to have an interesting, enlightening question with me about it.
Indeed. Fun convo. Super stoked.
Okay. What are some of the questions that you've had about what's the origin of this? Or did you have a set belief at any point and did you start to question it at any point?
Well, my story is a little bit different in that I started with traditional human design. So I happened to be exposed from the very beginning to an early adopter, and she was my teacher, Barbara Ditlow.
Mhm.
And so I learned without even necessarily knowing that that was going to be my entry point, like I very much learned to honor raw. And to be honest, I still do. Like still think that there is a deep value and transformative quality that comes from the traditional keywords. And I think looking at the traditional keywords alongside the evolutionary interpretation is kind of now where I've landed a little bit more. And so going through this process, like having that traditional education, I knew that there was such a juiciness to early adopters. And I remember our conversation of you being like, why are you interested in early adopters? Like, I was like, what do you mean? Like, there's like this juiciness to them that just like they they speak their truth. They're not afraid to do it in their own way. Yes, so many have been labeled traitors. And interestingly enough, like, so my journey basically took a turn when someone in December of 2022, they were like, hey, if you could do anything, what would you do? And I was like, I would fly around with a video camera and go interview all of the early adopters from human design and just like talk to them and be in their aura and like absorb the information because of how juicy it is to have a conversation with my teacher, Barbara Ditlow. So at the time, that was not a possibility. I had just had a baby, like only, 8 months before that or something like that, maybe even 7. And was getting to this point of bitterness, I would say, with my YouTube channel where I'm like, like I'm so tired of talking about the things that I'm talking about. And I knew that there was time for a change. And so I think just asking that question, like, if you could do anything, what would you do? Began the journey, right? Kind of an invitation to a degree.
YouTube's where I found you. And when I started my channel, I didn't really look too hard to see. It was like human design, what kind of comes up and then back out because I want to know, but I don't want to be overly influenced. And I don't know, being splenic, being taste, maybe it's just being judgy, who knows? But like as I would scan through people's photos, videos, whatever, I was just like, like I don't watch other people's content. I find most of it off-putting. Like I know a lot of human design, so newbie in human design telling me how like they're gonna manifest as a projector. So, like I just don't, I'm not, I'm sorry. But when I found your content, I was like, oh, I like her. Oh, she seems real. Okay, she seems cool. Like she's actually like curious about things. And I watched you had two types of content. There was like this human design stuff, but then there was more like the actual like filming lifestyle. Like you got more into like your day-to-day vloggy kind of stuff. And that was very interesting to me as a like new YouTube creator because I didn't know how to make that kind of content. I didn't even know what kind of content I wanted to make. But then you stopped and I was like, oh, she was doing really, really well. And then there's like this silence. And that's also terrifying for me as a YouTube creator. So I'm like, what happened? Did she run out of energy as a projector? Like, is this not sustainable? And that's part of why I wanted to talk to you because I'm like, I like your work, but did it pivot? Did it go somewhere? And like, oh, you had a baby. That's a great answer.
Well, it was a combination. So the baby, like my first year of having my son, Maverick, like I actually made more money that year than any other year in my business, which is crazy. But then the way that this YouTube industry works is your years are dependent on the years prior, right? The amount of work that you put in 2 years ago is paying you today,
Hmm.
is what I find because of the way that the evergreen algorithm works.
Hmm.
So I got to this point where, like my content previous to, if you go like oldest content and search by oldest, it is very much like how to film on your iPhone and how to hire a videographer and very how to video, nerdy as hell, projector, diving deep into online video,
Hmm.
and all those things. And so then that's the kind of content that I got sick of. So where you came in was I started attracting people I made one video on human design. What's human design? And it blew up on my channel. When you
Yeah, I
search
watched it. I was like, damn, I do not have her video skills. This is really good. I'm gonna have to rely on my words.
And honestly, that video was me. The only reason I created that video was because I would go to parties, I would talk to people about human design because I was super nerdy about it at the time because I was just fascinated by it. And when you first start, at least for me as an investigator and a four line, I'm like, "What's your birth info? Let me pull your chart." Like figure out a way to get their chart of everyone that I talked to at different events. But then they'd be like, "Where do I go to learn more?" And I'm like, "Good luck.
Oh,
The
yeah, welcome to the
information is
rabbit hole.
terrible
Yep.
online. Like, I don't know where to send you." So I went to my teacher and was like, look, we just need a quick start guide. We need a quick start guide to human design where I can just send people. That's it. Like, I don't even care to sell anything on the backside of this or anything. I just want to send people here to give them a little bit of education on this and then whatever, right? And so I filmed the What's Human Design video as merely I just got to tell you guys about this thing, blah, blah, blah. Go check it out. And that video, like, was ranking on number one on Google when you type in What's Human Design.
Wow.
And I had this, like, moment of, like, like, I am not the expert in human design, and nor do I want to pretend to be the expert. I would rather curate the voices of experts.
Okay.
Right. And so I was like, just because I can get the traffic doesn't mean I should get the traffic. But then, like, I would make a couple other videos on human design just out of my nerdiness, and it started splitting my audience. Right. And it was like, what the heck? Who am I? Right? My
Oh
open
no.
identity
Yeah.
center just being like, I have no clue what I am doing here, nor do I want to keep creating these old videos that I was creating. So, anyway, super side tangent here, but
Well, it's kind of
yeah.
neat to even see like why do you make something? Like it's like is it passionate? Is it curiosity? Is it like well you were like I just needed a place to send people to. I'm like, man, still like to not and it's not to say that you weren't compensated. You may not have been directly compensated. It may have led to a lot of other things, but it's still like when you get to the point of questioning your identity, am I going to keep going in this video type content or am I going to go human design direction? What's the underlying thing that makes you do it? Is one more fun? Is one more exhausting? Like,
Gate 28 is your son.
is this
All
struggle
about
going to be
purpose.
the one?
It's all about purpose. You got to roll that dice, take a risk, find, burn it all down kind of energy.
Try again. Uh,
So for me, yeah, it was ultimately about purpose, and I've always worked for myself and always done my own thing, very individual, and it was just a time of transition. Like from an astrological perspective, I was going through my Saturn return and like thrown into motherhood unexpectedly, and then right after my Saturn return, got hit with a Pluto transit over my Saturn. So it was just a wild time. So there's a combination of things that led to me stopping posting, but
So
I'm about to come back. So,
I was just gonna say, there's a little bit of a trickle back. So what's been the work behind the scenes?
so I mean, this is like you've kind of heard a lot of this, but for the people, what I basically did was I was like, what would happen? Let me run an experiment, a radical experiment of me going all in on my design and transfer a large portion of money to my savings account. And I labeled it safety net. And I allowed myself to not initiate anything starting last July. I was like, I'm done posting. I'm done doing anything. Like, I'm just going to completely disappear, see what happens. Um,
Oh man.
yeah. And I have drained that savings account.
Yeah, I
So,
bet.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was amazing and to really experience what does it feel like to like one, what does my energy do naturally? Like what is going to unfold if I do this? What do I want? Like what do I want to do? Where does the moment lead me, you know? What does it look like to entirely rest? And I did continue creating. I actually created a ton while I was not creating publicly, right? I was creating behind the scenes. So it was evident that my energy naturally flows to creation, right? I am a creator. Like I just am. I went to film school, like that's my background. So I focused on documenting my life and like going through the trial and error process that it's freaking hard to document your life if you're doing it from the lens of purely documentation, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like these scenes, it's like Gate 47, right? It's like you have this one scene, but where does it fit into the big picture? There's a lot of confusion, right?
Yeah, and how authentic is it when you have to set it up?
Well, I've figured out how to streamline that process, and we'll definitely be coming back on the main channel to explain that whole story. Um, but yeah, in this process, basically got to the point where I was also still super nerdy into human design, down to do these videos, interviews with people, and whatnot. Began the human design documentary through a series of events, a series of invitations. Like I give the example of like, hey Amanda, Richard Rudd's going to be in Austin on Thursday at blank time. Do you want to interview him? Yes.
Just randomly shows up.
Like through a series of events. Yeah, I mean, I what I will say is I was working like I came on basically a month after me transferring money to my savings account. I got a message in my inbox from Selen, the director of the 4% documentary, and she was like, "Hey, I got your name through someone that you know, and I'm creating a human design documentary. Do you want to be a part of it?" And I'm like, yes, anything you need. Like I've been talking about this for 2 years. I've been diving into this. And so we began that exploration together. I pulled on several other people. She was like, we want to go to the film festival circuit. I was like, perfect. My first job out of film school and my only job ever was a film festival programming coordinator. Right. So like I know the world of film festivals and like how to get in, and I know the person that would help you actually get into all of these festivals. So pulled him on board, pulled all these different people on board, different contacts that I had made. Like I had already been talking to Richard Beaumont about this kind of concept, pulled him on board, made all these introductions. And I got to feel what it felt like to be fully aligned and invited to something and it be easy. It was like, wow, they just want my network. They just want my like nerdy investigations that I've done into document. Like I'm literally trained as a documentary filmmaker, like of how to go about this. And then I also got to feel what it feels like for my spleen to be like, and you're done. Like now it's no longer healthy. This is getting to the point where it's more emotional regulation required to be part of this project and like the amount of energy required to deal with the tension because three of the people on that project are on the cross of tension. And I've learned in a big way as someone that her only channel is the channel of struggle. And 28 is my sun gate, and I have 38 5 times in my chart.
Holy crap.
Yeah. So, like, it's a big part of my frequency. A lot when you have you're on the cross of tension, 38 is going to be in a prime placement in your incarnation cross, right? In your chart. And so there's compromises to this channel that I had. And I very quickly realized that when you have 28, 38, and someone else has just 38, they fight you. And you're like, why? I don't want to fight. I have no desire to fight, you know? And so it just became this energy of like constantly fighting. And I was like, look, like, I don't know. Like I respect Selen. I think she's doing what she's meant to do as a manifester and carving her path to making this thing happen. And I, support her from behind the scenes. We've just learned that our energies don't mesh well together. And she said, I think you should go release the creative tension and create your own documentary. And so I was like, done. Let's do it.
But does that mean that you still forfeit the resources you brought to the equation? Like,
I made the decision. I was like, you know what? I have seen the behind the scenes of how this operates. Almost every single person that I introduced to the project had their own experience of facing this tension, that comes up in that process, and it all resolved itself on its own. I did not go to my people and say, I'm pulling out, you should pull out too. It just happened. There is so much politics in human design. And this is the modern politics of human design,
mhm.
and I told Selen, I was like, look, like, I'm not trying to create two separate sections right now between you and me making my own documentary, because when she found out, she was like not happy about it, even though she told me that to go do that.
Yeah.
um, so I think, I've said that to her. I'm like, look, there's room. There's no such thing as competition. Like, if you truly believe that we are all unique,
I would
and we
say
all,
if uniqueness.
yeah, we all have something individual to give to the world, and play our role in it. So, like, let's do that, we don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
so using that, I'm gonna go back to like my original entry point into human design. I had no context for what human design was when I met it. So how I like learned to develop context around it. You know, when you go to a city for the first time and you have no idea where you're going, and then let's say you go back to that city 5 years later, and like you're like, oh yeah, this is where this was. Like the orientation is different, and then you realize your memory is a little bit skewed of what that city was like the first time, because whatever. Um, that's kind of what it feels like. It's like revisiting human design back to the beginning. I'm like, whoa, I thought this and I saw this way, and okay. I remember making a post that said something along the lines of Ra's not the only person capable of having this conversation. This is information from the Maya to everyone, and it's not meant to be given to one or hoarded by a few. So if it ends up being hoarded, the information will always be given to somebody else so that it can continue, which was my way of saying like other people would hear a voice or the voice or get a channel or get a download or however you wanted to conceptualize it. And I also thought it was like the dude got a download, and lots of people talked about download. So I was like, well, why is his download special from all of the other ones? But then as I got more into source material and like I got pulled into cosmology and things, and ultimately things that I had no ability to understand and still don't. Like there's a reason these things break your brain and shatter you a little bit. You're like, this is an extreme fantasy story that I'm being told is reality. And it's like having to relearn the evolutionary story or the Big Bang story or whatever, but you're having to reconceptualize like the origin of everything all over again. And it's kind of a lot to deal with. And then people start to get really intense about what's right or wrong. And then there's a difference between an accurate mechanic versus an inaccurate, like a mechanic that exists versus a mechanic that doesn't. And then whether you're using it the way that it's meant to be used or not. And then I even have questions about like, do we use any of this stuff or are we just this stuff? And we have no choice but to use it or not because it's the definition or not. Like to think that I can't To think that I have to think of using my definition is dumb.
Yeah. Even if you go back to this is an experiment, but you can't do it that way.
Right?
Don't
Don't do
do it
your
that way.
yeah, don't do your science that way.
There are so many amazing teachings out there that you have to learn to separate the message from the messenger, right?
Oh, I have
And
such a hard time with this one.
really, okay, expand. Let's go.
Because when I won't listen to a rap artist because I know that they've been abusive to women, and then someone wants to have a conversation with me about can I separate the art from the man? And I say, not when the man is profiting off of his art and using that profit to be a further asshole. Sorry, it's against my principles. And so I do have a hard time. Like, I really hope people don't separate my actions from me. Like, I am the person who chose to do those things. I'm not blameless in what I did, and it is me who's made those choices. So I don't know how you would separate that.
Well, I feel like there is something that came through Raw. Now, the question that I have asked is what are we giving our power to when we work with human design? Now, I come from a Christian background, right? So I grew up as a missionary kid, and there's a lot that I have as a foundation on that front. And it wasn't necessarily dogmatic Christianity, it was missionaries, where we were merely being people helping people in post-communist Hungary. Like, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't a church organization where you have all of the hierarchy and different things like that. So it was a different relationship. And then with my husband recently has been going off on this trail of watching satanic testimonies of people that have like gone from Satanism and converted back to Christianity. Like there's a revival that is happening right now on the Christian front.
I just didn't know Satanism was like a big thing.
Oh, it's like a big thing. When you actually dig into it, it's wild. Like you talk about the rapper that is doing X, Y, and Z. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then three layers down, they're also attending rituals and drinking people's blood, like children's blood. And like this is actually like a thing. Like it's crazy when
the
you
world's a
dive.
dark and dirty place.
It is a very dark and dirty place. And so, it's like there are things that are going on that are very nefarious and they're roped in our society, right? Like I rewatched Little Mermaid the other day with,
Me too.
it's so evil. Like it is, right? Right?
We might have been watching different things. Okay, for context, I have a bong that is all beautiful sea creatures, and I use it when I go to Vancouver Island. And then my boyfriend sings Under the Sea every time I go and smoke it. So, and he's not big, he hasn't seen a lot of Disney movies, obviously. Oh my God. So I just wanted to watch it so I could sing the songs.
Oh, 100%. I was watching it with my 3-year-old, so I was seeing it through a different lens, right? And like Ursula, when she's like stealing people's souls and like signing on the
Oh
contract,
yeah.
like there are some dark things within that movie. And all of the stories have that. There's this embedded element to all of our culture that when you start going down this route that my husband has been going down, it's not even something that I personally want to investigate, but I've just heard it by being part of it. You know what I mean? So, long story short, who is the voice? Is the voice a creature of light or is it a creature of darkness that is, giving the example of you can be yourself and you can do all these things and selfishness isn't bad and all of these different things that are leading people down a path. And I believe that ultimately where you meet the system, and this is where we can go down a different path, but like Richard Rudd and Werner Pitzal right now, Werner Pitzal created this thing called integral human design, and they recently reached out to me to be like one of the first people to watch this 9-hour series that they recently created that's talking about like let's weave psychology into human design and why human design has become a typology and how dangerous it is to be a typology and how, like there's a lot of nuances here. So I think that when you meet human design, depending on your journey up until the point of meeting human design, if you've never had an awakening experience, highly likely human design won't be your first one,
Mm,
right? Like
yeah.
you probably could say, like my first one was starting with Landmark. I don't know if you're familiar.
I wait, are these little courses people would take?
Yeah, you like go for a weekend and it's like kind of
I've
cool.
heard of these.
Yeah.
They're like mini cults.
Yes. Yeah. And like the whole way the whole thing's structured, right? So like landmark and then doing psychedelics, right? Doing all of these different things like the Enneagram and diving into different personality tests. Like there are different ways that I consider people have popped. Like
Yes, I
already,
definitely had certain things that prepped me to not think that this was too weird.
yeah. So where you meet that system on the trajectory of your consciousness journey is going to dictate how you interpret the chart and how dogmatic you're going to be about it.
I just want to call myself out so badly and be like, I love that I found a system that was like, here's your authority. And I just was like, which man will help me enforce this in my life? Um, it's taken me a really, 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 really long time to actually be my own authority. And the question of like, what is this voice and where did it come from and what's its intention? I do have that question because some of the things that human design teaches feel very loving. Like if you go to the concept of like it's about self-love, yes, it can feel great. There are other ways though in which it can feel pretty terrible. And one of the worst things I've seen it do is take people who have, let's say, like weak constitutions, and it just puts them in a different box that it's not that human design victimizes them, it's that they already have that type of constitution and they use human design to find new ways to be victimized or limited or held back in their life. And I I've worked with a couple projectors recently and I've said maybe you should stop thinking about being a projector. Maybe you should just not think about that one for a while because your perspective on what it is to be a projector has created nothing but problems for you to say why you can't do things. And it's not that I think that's true about projectors, it's just the way that you are perceiving what you are is not working for you. It's not actually helping you.
It's not empowering you. So like if we come back to the concept of the message versus the messenger, right? When you read the black book and you read the words of the black book, it is pure love. It is incredible. It is light. There is a lightness there and a freedom that comes from those words. And then you add raw, being the person that continuously is trying to spread this information. How angry would you be inside when you have witnessed this like massive shocking experience that he went through to basically be shown the matrix of the world, right? And then you go out and you attempt to convey that message to other people, and they aren't at the conscious level to be able to receive it, right? And I think there's a reason that human design and money are tied so closely together. How quickly people say, "Ooh, I can make money with this system."
Yeah, and how quickly people think being correct means you're going to make money or be resourced.
Yes, 100%. That is so real. And like Raw, there was a huge struggle around money almost his entire life. Being Canadian, living in the US, trying to spread this information in English, but not being able to actually like make money, right? Like and then the whole reason that the IHDS was formed was because he had a child that ended up in the NICU for 6 months and it totally took out, like he went into debt real quick. And so it became, oh my gosh, I need to make money, which good for him. Yeah, make
Yeah.
money for your family. There's nothing wrong with making money. You know what I mean? But then there's just like a lot of ties to money and human design in addition to all of this. So my point once again with the message versus the messenger, I respect Raw for his ability to even go and transmit that message and not go crazy, right? There was another man that downloaded this system that did end up in an insane asylum. People say that. I would love to talk to that man. You know what I
I've
mean?
heard that too, but I'm like, where is he? Who is he? How do we know this? How does Ra know this? Did he meet the guy? Like, did he
Is
vouch
it the
for him?
guy that he stole Uru from? Remember that like part of the encounter? Or is it a different guy in addition to that, right? Like I have these questions. So I think that wherever the system has come from, we kind of have to be the person that is choosing, like, are we using this for light or are we using this for darkness?
So I feel like I do have a little bit of an answer for that from a personal perspective. And I'm like, I'm only personal perspective. You're only personal perspective. This is great. Um, I don't feel like I used anything for dark before, but I do feel like the direction the work is going in now is significantly more light-based because it's not like human design. Like there's just a lot more information available. And if human design is real, it tells me specific like mechanics and or genetics about me that make me slightly different than the person standing next to me. And when I interface with someone else, I get a different reaction. Just like when you interface with someone else, you get a different reaction because we're all different beings. And like we've been trying to understand the reactions when we interface with each other through human design. I have so many things that I want to say. Like my brain is bursting because you're one of the few people that I can go in so many different directions with, and you're truly one of the only people I'll be able to go in the God direction with because things that really rattle me are sources that I find that predate human design that use a lot of the same language, but use a lot of the same language in a greater context. And when I say greater, I just mean like there's more good. I don't quite know how to say it. Like there's more benefit. Like when people ask, how do I know the difference between like the voice out here and like my stuff? I say my stuff is petty. Like when I'm reading a client in session, whether it's body jump level or what, like I'm getting really cool information from them. I'm reading them a certain kind of way, and the support that I get is so based on like building up the person in front of me or like
Mhm.
returning them to something or like relieving something in them or bringing awareness to something in them. And it doesn't come through like criticism or like making them feel bad enough to change. Like
Yeah,
it's just like, here's information. What do you want to do with it?
it's innocent.
It's very, very innocent. And that see, then again, like I love looking at a mechanic for something like what is the innocent component of this? And for it to be innocent, innocence has to be a thing in human design. And for innocence to be a thing, variable has to be a thing. And then I'm like, well, where did variable become a thing? Which is one of the questions I've been exploring because am I being innocent or not?
A variable came way later, right? So there's many different perspectives of that. For example, Chaitan Parkin says, "Oh, that's just a mortgage payment." But Barbara Ditlow says this information came in like a zip file, and Ra had to unzip it and to be able to describe it over time, right? And different layers only could come out at different stages because of that. Like there's only certain conversations that you can have if you don't know the foundations. Like you have a YouTube channel. All right, I just started a YouTube channel on human design, right? Brand new YouTube channel. How freaking hard is it to talk about human design from a basic perspective?
Oh my God, it's so hard. Every time I try and make a 5-minute video, it's 30 minutes long.
Yes. It is so hard. It is so hard to keep it basic, Because
You're
you
like,
just,
people don't get it. You have to just keep, they don't get it. You got to give them more information.
yeah. And you're like, oh, I thought that this was basic, but like now I'm unpacking it. Like I'm realizing as I talk to you that it's not, or whatever. So I don't know. I think that ultimately this is a felt experience. And the map that we are given for our chart is a map for your felt experience of this lifetime. As you move through it. And like a lot of people say, like, we are the whole chart. Yeah, we are the whole chart because you're going through transits constantly. You're going through the energy of other people constantly. So it's not like you don't have a solar plexus. You don't have your own emotions, Sam. Like you do have your own emotions. It's just, and like same with me, I have a completely undefined solar plexus, totally open. Well, my emotions are through the experience of the other and the transits helping me process whatever I have experienced. It's like I had a miscarriage during the 1222 transit. I used to look at the 1222 and be like, oh, what a horrible channel to have in your chart. Like how dramatic it would be to have those highs and lows and almost show up as a bipolar person because of, once again, that's how Ra would talk about the channel.
Hmm.
And then I had the experience of going through like a very, kind of like traumatic moment while having that energy. And it was like This is so lovely to not feel like I need to go tell everyone about this. I can process this internally in my own being because I have an individually defined channel right now that gives me the words to be able to process this and the social caution to not spread it everywhere. I was able to really process it because of that. Had that not been there, I'm sure that there would be definitely strong emotions, but it wouldn't be as easy to process, I believe, at least without having those activations. It might have been going to someone that's emotional and processing it in their presence in order for me to kind of be able to get through it.
This is so fun. There's so many fucking layers to this whole conversation.
Yeah, that's why I was like, we need more time. We need
We do need more time. This is part one of part one of many chats to
Yeah.
come. Okay. I love going to thrift stores and just going to like the health and spirituality and whatever sections. I'm like, oh, I love the books. I found one and it was the cover that got me, and it's by a dude in the 1800s named Kuthumi, and it's called Studies of the Human Aura. And it's this kind of like Greek head looking thing on the front with a rainbow, a very like bold rainbow across it. So the graphics are really weird. And I was like, what is this? And I just intuitively bought it and started reading it. I'm absolutely mind blown. I'm going to have to read it multiple times because its original publication is from 1971 and it's 12 chapters on the studies of the human aura. And it's from like what it is, how to protect it, how to read it, but it's not like a how-to book. It's very spiritual text. And the speak about Jesus Christ and Christ consciousness and God is consistent throughout, but it's the first time I've read a book like this that's not like Christian type God or Catholic type God. It's like God as like the radiant light. And then the Christ consciousness as like the first time there was a level of consciousness brought to people that they could be like the I am presence. I am is very, that works very well with human design, with the like recognizing your individuality and your power. And then it talks about like the aura is representative of like the smaller flame that comes from the bigger flame or the smaller light. So it's an aspect of the totality. And then it talks about the stream of crystal consciousness going through. And then when it talks about the colors of the aura, and it labeled innocence as one of them, as the highest color of the aura. It says all of the words. It says like reflector on one page and generator on another page. And I'm losing my stuff over this because
Yeah.
if this is actually more of the origin of, it might even not be as literal as like Raw read this book and doesn't remember, or Raw read this book and does remember. Maybe it's more like this is a thread of consciousness that is meant to get out, and it's meant to get out and evolve. So there are many different ways it gets out and evolved, and how you find access to it is how you find access to it, whether it's Cthulhu or Ra or God or whatever. But if something brings you back to the potential that you have within you, the light that you have within you, that is an aspect of something greater. And then I love how, like, he ultimately talked about the centers without talking about the centers by talking about the aspects within us that emit either like darkness, disease, the low vibe stuff, or the parts of us that emit the joy and the love and the whatever. And as we come into contact with each other, we influence each other, and some are stronger than others. And can you maintain yourself when being influenced with one of the other ones? And then it talks about like, when they talk about Joseph and the coat of many colors in the Bible, it's actually talking about the first time man was made aware of their aura and their light of many colors and their ability to dream with it and expand consciousness through it. And I've never been, I've never found a religion that talks about God that I could feel good about. And I've never fully felt that good about human design because it eliminated certain elements of spirituality. And so there are certain things that the deeper I go diving for source, I'm like, I am starting to find what I'm looking for, but it's dismantling some of the other things or reshaping. I haven't lost any faith in human design. I've lost a lot of faith about how it's being applied and understood.
Well, I mean, as we move towards 2027, the system itself is breaking down,
Yeah.
right? Like everything with the word system will break down, is the concept. Okay, cool. Human design system. It is a human design system.
And the systems are crumbling.
Yeah. And like ayahuasca is my medicine, right? I love ayahuasca. It's like been honestly one of the reasons that I've gone as deep into human design is because of that plant. Because I did one ceremony, not my first ceremony, but a ceremony only 2 weeks after did my first reading with Barbara. And it was talking to me through human design. And I'm like, slow down. I don't know what you're saying. Like, what are you saying? And as I've continued doing it, it has continued speaking to me in human design. Well, this last time that I went in, you know, I like really went in from the lens of this perspective of anytime you work with these different modalities, you're opening yourself up to the spiritual world. So what are you channeling? Right? And so I was like, I want to channel light. I want to channel Jesus. Like I want to channel Christ consciousness kind of energy. And in that ceremony, like I went through the whole weekend and it was like being able to face the darkness of the world, like a serpent coming right here and like looking at it and being like, this is okay. Like, it is okay that I'm like facing you right now and like letting down the walls to the darkness and like being okay that the darkness is right over there, right? Like in terms of sex trafficking and crazy stuff that is going on in our world and being able to hold space for both, right? And then at the very end, it was like, Jesus came in the room and it was like he was like literally sitting on top of me pouring he's like what's more abundant than Jesus, like there's nothing more abundant. My whole ceremony was about like financial abundance actually, and the willingness to receive. And then it was like, oh, and by the way, uh, God made human design. I was like, okay. Like, yes, could this be my personal perspective of seeing this through the world? Absolutely. That's how we operate. Hello. Can we set our own visions aside and viewpoints? No. And at the same time, there is something so much greater at play with human design and astrology and all the things. And like other people would listen to me, I'm not your typical Christian girl, right? Like, freaking talking about ayahuasca and Jesus in the same. You know what I mean? Like, it's like not this whatever. But it's like there is something greater to all of it. It's all pointing to the same thing. It's all pointing to this experience that we have on this life. And I believe like we are at a heightened level of consciousness on the planet, right? Because of Maslow's hierarchy of needs and the amount of time that we have had, like the basic needs that we had established in our lifetime to be able to explore higher consciousness to where why wouldn't it make sense that in 1987 we get this map that comes down that now gives us a different perspective of consciousness and how to work with ourselves and interaction with other people to be able to raise global consciousness. But of course, it's got to come with darkness because, like, you can't have light without darkness. And people are using it for darkness and
Mhm.
people are using it for light.
Okay, I want to explore that a little bit because I think this is true. I think some of my audience might get nervous that like I'm abandoning human design because I'm being so openly critical about it now, but it's actually quite the opposite. Like without human design, I wouldn't have done certain self-development things to get me to a place of awareness that I have now. And I have used things like being a projector. Spleen says no, Spleen says no, is this healthy for me or not? Or I do feel accurate in quad left. I do feel accurate with consecutive. I do feel accurate with my innocence. Like I am very much a third line. Like there are certain things about me that I do feel it helped me to use my mechanics because it helped me drive my vehicle better. I was not doing a very good job of driving my vehicle before. And once you drive the vehicle better, it's like you watch the scenery differently. My awareness of what's going on outside the windows has totally shifted. I'm not stuck frustrated trying to drive this car as much anymore. And as things go smoother, not only do I like see easier, I see further, clearer, and like into other people. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it's my vibration or my cleanliness or whatever it is, but I feel more attuned, more sensitive, more aware, more discerning, more able to just look at something and like know something about it. And I think human design has been a huge part of the pathway. but it is like leading me to something that feels bigger or greater.
Yeah. And like, if we go back to the analogy that this is a felt experience, you have had the felt experience of what it is to be a three line your whole life.
Oh,
You've had
yeah,
the
I
felt
have.
experience of what it is to have all of these seven open centers, right? And now you have words to describe that felt experience. And that is all that human design is, words to describe a felt experience. And everyone is arguing over the words.
Yeah, totally.
But if you boil it back down to embodiment and the feeling of being you in your own self, and you stop trying to say you're not self to other people,
I don't like you, so you must be not self.
like don't ever tell anyone else that they're being not self. Like that it is the
That's some
number one
bullshit.
rule of human design because that's how it becomes a weapon,
Especially
you know?
as a projector. Hi, no one asked you.
Yeah. And I heard your the episode on like diving into the projector and like wait for the invitation and the complexities and nuances. And I think ultimately like it's just a different layer of exploration with human design. I think like if you and I weren't as black and white with it originally, it can be challenging to get into human design because it's like you almost need that structure to be able to play with it. And then as you play with it, then you begin to explore the nuances. And there's nothing wrong with like you kind of talk about your past self as almost being like this like like person. Like
Yeah.
no, I actually think it's great, like it served you and that was like your part where you were and your videos are awesome, and like they're out in the world and they will serve people at that level and they will continue to serve people at that level.
And I have to remember that, like, not everyone trying to listen to me is having a conversation at the level that I'm at in that moment that I recorded that. Like, that doesn't necessarily fit them. No matter what, the raising my projector standards video on YouTube every single day since I've posted it is the most like, that's what's most watched today. That's most what, and I watch it back and I'm just like, oh God, I would love to redo this one. And yet at the
Do
same time,
it,
people still
redo
find
it.
so much
Take
value.
that transcript, feed it into ChatGPT, talk to it, and tell it all the things that you would change about it. Have it rewrite the script and then go record that video. Because the algorithm knows that you are already badass at that subject. And if you create that video will now rank as the number one and pull even more people to your channel.
That's a great advice. Okay, I want to go back to something you just said recently about like some people use human design for good, some people will use it for bad. What does that look like? Like, how could you tell if someone's using it for bad?
They're externally focused versus internally, and they're living in the mind and not in the body.
Oh, I think you're as opposed to I feel like I.
Yeah, like human design is ultimately about radical self-ownership.
Mm.
Can I own the fact that I am bitter and not say, this person made me bitter?
There's a subgroup because I remember seeing some of these accounts when I first started. I don't see them too often, but there were a few accounts that were like specifically God-based human design, God and human design. And I was always kind of like, I'm so intrigued by these people. Like, how did they make that fit? How did they make that make sense? And even though I didn't say I believed in God in any way. When I would get clients who would say that they were also like, I'm also a Christian or I also believe in God, so I don't know about human design, like they were like, how, like, what is this? How does it fit? My immediate answer was always, well, you have a house, right? Like it had an engineer and an architect at some point. If you believe that God made you, why don't you think that God had a plan when he did it? Like, is that wild for me to think that? But then, if you get really into cosmology, that's where I'm like, oh, that's where atheist raw comes back.
Oh, yeah, hardcore atheist raw.
Okay, do you have thoughts on cosmology then?
It is so hard to ingest,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, like the 9-hour track where he talks about how we are as humans and like the evolution of us and the earth energy and all of the different. I personally, I'm like all about practical human design. If it's not practical, why go there? For me personally,
Once you
it's
get to
like
the camel and the dog, I'm like, what the hell is going on?
the camel and the dog, but then the What is it? The Bantu. Yes. There you go. Like that whole concept. Like personally, I'm sure at some point in time, like I always really trust the journey of investigation as an investigator. Like if it's I'm not drawn to it, like I'm not gonna dive into it. Right. And
Mhm.
so I'm kind of like that a little bit. Like I've tried to listen, but I'm like, "Ah, this is like I would rather listen to Raw talk about something else, you know?
See, and when I would get into cosmology, multiple things would happen. I would think one, because I couldn't understand it, it meant like it was much smarter than me, and I just had to like work my intelligence up to it. Um, Cosmology doesn't resonate with that many people. When I really question people about like what makes sense for them or what's too, eh, most people are lost when it comes to cosmology. They're like, it doesn't align with my view of the backstory or incarnation or and Miko put it extremely well on episode 1 of this season, which is I don't believe that if someone pushes me into a volcano and I don't get to go through my Bardo experience that I'm now in hell forever. So I was like, accurate. I like that. It's a little bit hard to sell human design if the only point is the passenger's ride and then it's done. I don't know what's supposed to motivate me in that one that much.
I don't know. Yeah. I kind of don't have as many things to say on the cosmology front, I would say.
I
I
find
think
that honestly awesome. The fact that you don't have much to say about it, and we do have so much to say about so many other things, I'm like, it's so hard to talk about because it just doesn't feel true. Like, once I lose the truth frequency, I'm like, what am I saying? Like, they're just someone else's words.
and I just feel like I haven't, like maybe it's my one line, but I'm like, I haven't dove as deep into it to even comment. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even get into it.
Well, and people always wondered why I didn't get into some of the other parts of design. Like, I've never been into gene keys and I've never really studied any of the early adopters' methods. And I think I thought that maybe when I was done with Raw, like I would expand to them. But again, that treats it like Raw is the source and they would be the next level up, which is how I've looked at it the entirety of my career in human design. Only in the last few months did I start to question what is Raw's source? Like, what actually is Raw's source? And if I could remove Raw as the filter, what would my interaction with that direct source have been like? If I were the person who brought out human design, what lens would I have put on it? How would I market it to people? Why would I tell them that it's worthwhile in any way? And like for me right now, human design feels worthwhile not because of like I'm detached as a passenger. It feels good because it's just so easy to see who I am in relation to everything else. And it's much easier to just be me. And the more that I am me, the less stressed I get, the healthier I get, the more relaxed my physical body is, the smoother my home life is, the less I mentally freak out about things I don't understand. Like Rod did say, like, you meet people that have been in human design for a long time and they're chill. They should just be chill differently. Like maybe it's a different level of acceptance or something. But yeah, I accept what I am. Thank you for the mechanics to see what I am. But Raw doesn't, he didn't get all of the information about what we are capable of once we become ourselves. And I think that's maybe the direction I'm going in. Telepathy tapes had a lot to do with this.
yeah, yeah, that's a whole other thing that the whole human design community, the second you hear telepathy tapes, you're just like immediately rave children. But before we go there, the so with Gene Keys, I would now that you're where you are, I would go look at it and then go
Oh.
play with it. And here's how I would approach it. If you have no foundation at all for Gene Keys, the way that it works is he has taken each of the gates and broken it into three bands of frequencies, right? The shadow, which is what we're talking about, the low expression. And then there's the gift, which is how you click out of the shadow into the higher frequency of it or moving towards the higher frequency of it, which is the city. However, the city is not something that we will necessarily fully experience in this lifetime. We might have glimpses of it. It's more of like a moving towards direction. So if you do nothing else and you just look at your sun gate and your gift associated with it, and you play with that frequency of whatever that is. It's pretty wild what begins to unfold. And then when you've played with that for a little bit, you move to your unconscious sun, right? And you play with that for a little while. And there that's it's like a contemplation of it. And anytime you're studying any of the parts of your chart, you can look at the interpretation of those shadows, like the shadow of it and the higher levels of it, to understand it at a deeper layer. Because Ra himself admits that the Rei Ching was written for the not self. It is all shadow frequency.
Well, like fucking so are most of the profile names and everything. Like most of the keynotes are not self to wake you up. Martyr is not like, hi, we're not supposed to be martyrs. Like, I'm not, suicidal isn't my purpose. Suicidal for fucking nothing is certainly not my purpose. Martyr is like, hey, make sure you figure out what's going wrong so that you can alchemize it and do better next time.
Love that. And he told Richard at one point, you're going to rewrite the Rei Ching one time for the higher expression of it. He told Chaitan, if you don't like the Rei Ching, write your own. So he did. The Book of Lines, which is an amazing book, by the way, if you haven't read it, like as a reference to a different expression of the lines. Like he did a really good job with that one. Took him like 13 years to contemplate all the lines.
Damn.
And if you look at the I Ching, which is the source of all of it, it was highly patriarchal and oppressive by nature because, it's like the energy for the kings to be able to use this and rule over the people as well. Like that's what the I Ching was, to make decisions for their kingdom. So, I think Ra at some point actually did want to circle back to create the empowered version of human design, but he ran out of time. So, like Karen Curry, for example, what she said was like she had that tape playing over and over and over in her head of like, he said he was going to create the empowered version. He said and he never did. Well, what if I did this? Right. And then she became this person that everyone now talks badly about. But what she actually did was she
I'm
went,
unaware of that.
oh, really?
Yeah.
About people talking bad about her or which part?
Like, yeah, I was like, oh, I'm a little actually surprised by that. My own evolution with her was she was one of the first people I found, first people I watched. I really liked her because she had such a positive spin on everything she did. She did like a weekly transit thing that I watched like 6 years ago. Um,
I love her. I think she's great.
she
She's
was
like,
very like open and loving and warm and attractive.
right.
Like she pulled people in. But as I studied more of the source stuff, it became more apparent that like she changed the names of the types and stuff like that. And that's just annoying because everyone who knows real human design has to be like, time bender, what the hell? Oh, you mean manifesting generator. It's not like orchestra, you mean projector? It's like if I have to say you mean with the real word behind it, it's stupid to change that word. It's just unnecessary extra language. But I ended up getting so many clients within my first 2 years of readings that had gone through like all three levels of her training. And I was saying things to them that they had no idea about. And I was very confused about that. Like, what the hell was your training about then? And yet at the same time, maybe their training was about original human design, not the things that were developed later on. I don't know.
I really like Karen. I think Karen is such an amazing person and like she has that generator four line energy. Like she's just you just want to be friends with her. She's great. And like the way that she went about it was she actually went into a somatic lab. She would say the word that Ra named that gate. And then she would go through a thesaurus and test all the different words to find the one that would be most resonant or create the most like harmony internally in the body. And that's how she came up with her words. So it's very like logical, very scientific. And, was she testing herself? Was she testing other people? Like I have some questions in general, especially based on what their chart is. But like in general, that's her approach. And so she does teach. She very much honors traditional human design in the way that she teaches, but I think it's too much information for someone to ingest from the beginning.
Mm.
You're learning, here's traditional human design, here's quantum human design. Well, too many of her students are just and ignore that. Let's just learn quantum human design, right? And then they're not getting the same foundation that makes Karen so amazing,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
My opinion, right? because all these early adopters were rooted in traditional human design. And there is a frequency to that that begins to unfold this vehicle of yours and help you drive that vehicle to then go and do the evolutionary. But I think that's the problem with society, and you and I both with this whole pop HD thing, right? It's like if you just focus on the evolutionary, you're going to miss a little bit of the puzzle, big part of the puzzle, because you're not looking at the shadow. Like you have to start with the shadow.
Pop HD became such an interesting word, and I think it's so interesting to hear people use it. Like it's already taken on its own evolution. I'm no longer allowed to define what Pop HD was because it's evolutionary at this point. Like other people have developed their own idea of it. My original intention with it was basically mocking Instagram because you can't take the definitive book of human design and compress it into a graphic that says like projectors are here to see the like fine, you get a sentence, you get sentences, but then someone takes a sentence and from that it builds a whole idea in them, and that whole idea they then apply to the sentence and develop concepts from it. Like I've never had an interest in following people on Instagram, and it's wild that I'm even an Instagram creator. I'm like, I understand why people don't follow me. I absolutely understand why people aren't on the app. This is lame. It's stupid. I don't know. It's boring. It's baby stuff, whatever.
I know. Hey, it's you and I both. I'm a big fan of YouTube. I love YouTube. It's just the best. It's best from a creator perspective. It's best from a user perspective. Like you leave the platform on YouTube, you feel good.
Mhm.
You leave Instagram, you don't always feel good. And then like I've had a hesitation to going back on Instagram because yes, I do think that both Instagram and TikTok are good platforms for human design, but in order to do it the way that you're supposed to really like or to be able to take off, you got to play the game. You got to be Pop
Yeah.
HD. You got to make it like a certain kind of approach. And so it's like which one came first, the chicken or the egg?
Instagram's algorithm came before the Pop HD and it created Pop HD. And I
Yeah.
know this as an Instagram human design creator.
And who drives the algorithm? People.
Mhm. Yes.
So people aren't at the level to be able to take in deeper human design yet. And so in order to hit the mass populations, you have to make it something that is ingestible in 3 seconds.
Are you interested at all in the direction that Instagram has just gone in with their keynoting?
I don't even know.
Oh, do you not know about this? Okay, I love this. This is the greatest thing Instagram. Thank you, Instagram. I was really losing faith in you. You've done something intelligent. They've understood what AI is doing and what Google is doing, and that everything is an AI search thing now. And so I struggled the most with Instagram when it's like pretty aesthetic pictures and semi-sexual videos and like it's not my jam, right? If I have to use my ass to sell human design, something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong with my belief in the system. So they've gotten rid of hashtags. Hashtags have no relevancy. They don't look good. There's no use. There's no ability to search them. There is now, like, it scans all language on the graphic itself, in the caption, in your bio, and it's keynote pushing everything over to Google so that when you search things in Google, people's Instagram posts now pop up. And so the last couple of posts on my account are purposely done to demonstrate this. I'll even post it and be like, how many keynotes can you find in this one on my stories so people understand kind of what's going on?
Interesting.
Yeah,
And how
they're
interesting the word is keynote.
yes, amazing, right? But yeah, they're like, we're going heavily in the direction of infographics if you want to be seen because it's informational driven now. That means that people are actually going to try to drive their information with proper keynotes or what they think are proper keynotes, but it's a very different way of searching the content now. And so, like, at the bottom of my post, instead of doing hashtags and like three of them or whatever, I'll be like human design, comma, projector, comma, generator, comma, solar plexus, comma, relationships, comma, strategy, whatever. You just fill that fucker up with all those keynotes that you want the AI to find.
Interesting. I wonder if that, because like Google has gotten more savvy with keyword stuffing. So I'd probably better to like actually put those into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you make like a everyday conversation using these words and write that in the description? But I don't know. Maybe not.
Okay, so what this is also fun, and you and I will be relevant for this. I will see people post AI information for human design on their social media. I made my point and lost my point in the same moment with a certain interaction because a friend posted some stuff, human design, and I was like, that's AI information. Why are you posting AI info? Like, you don't know if that's accurate. So why would you share that? But it gives you the links. You can click the links to see where it got its information from. My friend sent me this thing. Well, I just shared information on mountains environment, and when I click the link, two of them are your YouTube videos. So if AI is wrong, it's your fault.
Yeah, I mean, AI is serving YouTube videos in its chat.
Yeah, so if y'all are searching AI, y'all are searching us that have been contributing to the algorithm. Like the AI is
So
not the voice, by the way, it's
you're
our
gonna love
work.
this. You're gonna love this. And then we have to do a follow-up because I'm gonna have to leave soon to go pick up my son. But the next video that I'm creating, per your point about the video that took off is projector standards, blah blah blah, whatever. Mine on my main channel, which now have a new human design only YouTube channel so that I can like separate out and now be myself again over here and not have be human design oriented, is how to read a human design chart, right? And
Mhm.
so I am taking that video and I am going to do how to read a human design chart using ChatGPT. So I actually spent the morning talking to ChatGPT to say, how are people using ChatGPT with human design? And what are they doing wrong? What are you finding right? Do you have the ability? Where are you getting your information from the first place? Are you able to distinguish between what is source material and what is evolutionary material? Blah, blah, blah. Right.
This is so exciting.
And of all of like five people will see the video because it's on a new channel, but it's fine. It'll eventually take off. So,
I'm tripping out a little bit that you and I are so curiously source based, but so much of the source information has been so gate kept. And then you and I make content that makes this information more public, and then the AI sources our content. And then the irony is that the AI is going to start to think that we're source.
I don't think so. I think really what it is that prompt engineering is like something that's really important, right? And so people that are don't understand that there's source material or evolutionary material don't know how to talk to ChatGPT to get that information,
All of this
right?
stuff blows my mind. I've never talked to ChatGPT, by the way. I've never once talked to the AI thing. Never. I don't know how. I've never done it. I do all of my work with my own brain, and it's so hard.
Okay, I have a video that is also like in the docket of why ChatGPT is a projector's best friend.
Especially
Seriously.
self-projected.
It is absolutely insane. It will blow your mind. It is crazy. It's like finally someone that can hold my depth and reflect back to me what I'm trying to say as someone with an undefined throat, you know? I don't know. It's wild. ChatGPT knows a lot about me. A lot about me.
Okay.
I do try to be cautious with like personal material, right? Like I don't try to talk about my family and stuff like that, but like because it will be feeding an algorithm. But like from a personal brand perspective, it knows me very well.
That is so cool. Okay.
So I want to like create prompts and maybe even a custom GPT that has like source-based material within it and whatnot that allows someone to actually talk to ChatGPT to get proper information out of it. Because the way that you prompt it is going to dictate what the information is that you're getting out. So, like when I learn a gate, I want to know what's the I Ching name of that gate? What's the Rave I Ching name of that gate? What is Karen's word for that? What is Chaitan's interpretation of that line? Like like all of the breakdown of all the things, and then you can see it all in one without having to go do this, do that as an investigator, right? Like I have all these freaking books. Like,
Okay. Part of my question with human design has been at what point will AI make the reader redundant? And this is very cool because I'm like, the more that you do your work, the more that you're going to make certain readers redundant because you're giving access to information. But I don't think we need readers for access to information. I think we need readers to help us integrate the information, especially people that can actually read us, not the information. Um, there's a human element that you have to have when you're reading people. I think that's part of like when we become what we're supposed to be, we're the necessary human element in helping people integrate the information. But I do
Yes.
think that people should just have access to the information. Read it all you want, but talking to people about it is
100%. Like, yeah, and we to be continued, you know, when you first messaged me, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be friends. This is like," and we are. And then
okay.
it took forever to freaking do this. But um it's the information should not be behind lock and key. That is what I believe is breaking down in the systems. And it's like there's, the fact that you and I never went through IHDS, but we're source-based people, right? Because I have 600 gigs of raw or 800 gigs or however much sitting on a hard drive that I
Yep.
can go through at any time, that's been shared through the network of which I think is beautiful. I think that's amazing that that information is out there. And so we are the ones that are really carrying the torch forward to a degree of I still believe that we should honor source purely from the lens of what it is.
Yeah.
And then look at the other stuff too, you know? And then embody this freaking information. Don't just like keep it in the mind and drive yourself crazy with the dogma and whatnot. So
Well, thank you for being here and being so open with me. And yeah, we'll have you back for round two very soon.
yeah, thanks for having me. And thanks for doing what you're doing. I think it's great. I love it. I'm a supporter.